Well, hello and welcome to day number 9 of our devotional series in the book of Philippians, another week of looking at this book together. And the last time we were together, we saw how Paul urged the Philippians to, quote, conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel. That's taken right out of Philippians 1, verse 27. Now, today we're going to pick up with the second part of that verse, and we're going to see that he kind of explains what that life looks like, and that it's not merely an individual commitment. The Christian life is a shared commitment, and it's never meant to be lived alone. So the key thought for today is God calls us not only to stand for Christ, but to stand together in Christ. That's the key. So point number 1 this morning is stand firm. We take that out of verse 27. Conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or remain absent, I will hear that you are, and then this phrase, standing firm in one spirit. All right, now the phrase stand firm, that paints a picture of someone who refuses to be pushed off solid ground. Something just popped into my head that isn't in my notes, but I was just suddenly reminded of a baseball game that I played in as a young man many years ago. I was a catcher. And there was a close play about to happen at home plate. The ball was thrown to me. I caught the ball. The runner was a sitting duck. I was going to easily be able to tag him out. And he barreled into me. I did tag him out, but I probably did about 2 or 3 somersaults backwards. He just plowed into me. And I was not ready for the collision. I was not standing firm. He easily knocked me off of solid ground. There's probably an imprint on the backstop of a catcher's body plastered against the backstop. This is a long story. I'm taking way too long here. But we're being told here, brace yourself, stand firm, lower your center of gravity, brace for impact. Paul knew the Philippians would face pressure to compromise, pressure to become discouraged, and pressure to give up. His answer wasn't try harder. His answer was stand firm. Not because they were strong in themselves, and this is important, but because they belonged to Jesus Christ. And a firm faith is built long before it's tested. 1 Corinthians 15:58, therefore, my beloved brothers and sisters, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the Lord. Point number 2, we were never meant to follow Jesus alone. Philippians 1:27, the rest of it says, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. A few weeks ago, I think I used the example of elder in a church that visited a person in that congregation who had sort of started to get isolated and miss church and stop being together with their brothers and sisters. They went and visited this person, and they took a coal out of their fireplace and they set it aside. And it didn't take long for that coal to grow dim because it was isolated from the others. Then they took that coal and they placed it back in the fire, and quickly it heated up and it began to glow again. There is a powerful illustration in that. And the words striving together here come from the world of teamwork. Imagine rowers in a boat. Each person has to be rowing in the same direction. If each person rows in a different direction, the boat goes nowhere. But when everyone pulls together, progress happens. And Paul isn't asking everyone to have the same personality necessarily here, or the same gifts, because we don't have the same gifts. We don't have to have necessarily the same background either. We have differences in all of these areas. But he is calling for a shared purpose and to work together so that more people will come to know Christ. You could use the example of a tug of war. When everyone leans back together and they work in unison, their combined strength is remarkable. And that's Paul's picture of the church. Not isolated believers, but believers pulling together for the gospel. So we should ask ourselves something like this, am I helping build unity? Or am I unintentionally even making unity more difficult? Unity doesn't mean everyone is the same. It means everyone is moving toward the same Savior. Ephesians 4:3, it says, being diligent to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. Let's keep going. I got to make up a little time here because of my baseball story. Verse 28, in no way alarmed by your opponents, which is a sign of destruction for them, but of salvation for you, and that too from God. So Paul tells them not to be frightened by those who oppose them. Now, this doesn't mean Christians never feel fear. It means fear doesn't get the final word. When believers remain gracious and faithful and hopeful, even under pressure, well, that's a powerful testimony. The world expects anger, and it often doesn't know what to do with quiet courage. Steady faith speaks louder than loud arguments. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, for God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. Point number 4, even suffering can have a purpose. Verse 29, for to you it has been granted for Christ's sake not only to believe in him, but also to suffer for his sake. That verse surprises many people. Paul says it's been granted to believers not only to believe in Christ, but also to suffer for him. Now, none of us seeks suffering. Paul certainly did not seek suffering, although he suffered. He didn't seek it. He reminds us that hardship is not always evidence that God has abandoned us. Sometimes it is the place where our faith grows the deepest. Sometimes it's the evidence that we are in the will of God. The will of God is not always easy. It's not always the path of least resistance. But anyways, God never wastes the difficult seasons that we entrust to him. A good little set of verses is James 1, 2 through 4. And you can read all of that later, but I'll just read a part of it. Consider it all joy, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Point number 5, you're not fighting alone. Verse 30, experiencing the same conflict which you saw in me and now hear to be in me. Paul reminds the Philippians that they're sharing in the same struggle that he has faced. And there is comfort in knowing that we're not the first people to wrestle with hardship. And others have walked this road before us. And most importantly, Jesus Christ walks with us even right now. Shared burdens become lighter when carried together. Hebrews 13, verse 5, wonderful verse. He said, I will never leave you. I will never abandon you. Now, Paul paints a beautiful picture of the church here. Not a building, not a weekly event, but a family standing shoulder to shoulder, encouraging one another, serving together, remaining faithful together. When the world grows uncertain, the church becomes a place where people remind one another what is certain. Christ is still Lord, and Christ is still faithful, and Christ is still building his people. So encourage another believer this week with a phone call or a text or a conversation. And if you're facing a difficult season, remember you're not walking through it alone. One thing we can all do this week is we can thank God for the people that he has placed in our lives to help us stand firm. All right, now, there won't be a devotion tomorrow. I'm going to put a little programming note here, but there will be one, hopefully, Lord willing, on Wednesday. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.